Welcome to the FPL Double Up podcast. I'm joined by this handsome devil, Wes, aka FPL Heisenberg. The only thing not so handsome about your side of the screen this week, Wes, is that red arrow.
Yeah, I haven't had a red arrow in a little while, so bit disappointing. But I just about survived the. There was three blanks, wasn't there? Feels like ages ago because the international break's just been horrific, so boring in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, little red arrow. What about yourself, John? I need to see the screen to see where you are. I'm just getting
Yeah,
it
well,
now.
no, I'm
You're a
on.
little green.
I'm
I'm
still
still ahead. Still ahead.
green arrow, but you're still a good bit ahead. You've still a bit of breathing room. But I think the thing is, it feels like a long time ago. I was talking to Bakar yesterday on the channel, and I don't know what you did, Wes. Bakar switched off the international break. I use it very much as my holiday. Do you use it as your holiday as a full-time FPL content creator?
Yeah, exactly that. That first week of the international break and even a little bit longer didn't really do an awful lot. So yeah, same. It's the best time to do it, isn't it? And at the end of the season for me as well. That's when I like to go away.
Yeah, so I think I've June penciled off, but with a long stretch now. We'll have a lot of World Cup content, I'm sure, coming out on the
Yeah.
channel too. If people want to see us every week, all the other content that goes out in this channel, and there's another video later today, subscribe and like the video while you're here. So, Wes, we have too much to talk about, probably. I'm going to throw 5 talking points at you. We spend about 10 or 15 minutes on that. Then we're going to have a look at some differentials. We're going to have a look at our little head-to-head double-up league, what me and you are doing there, and we'll explain that game and how we're playing it and look at last week's results. I can't wait for that, actually.
I wonder why.
We'll have a little team review and transfer plans based off what happened to us last week and what we're planning for this week. And then at the end, we'll rattle off some quick-fire questions from the audience. So if you have questions, feel free to ping them in throughout and help each other out in the comments. But at the end, we're going to batch out as many as we can in 5 minutes. So first up, Solanke. I don't even think I want to say anything more than that. Solanke. He's everywhere. He's all over the community. What's your feeling? What are you saying?
Yeah. Well, I think there just needs to be a little bit of balance. It's got a bit silly on both sides of the argument on FPL Twitter. For those who have maybe missed it, there's a lot of people going big on him. A lot of people saying it's an awful choice, but I'm somewhere in the middle of he's 5.7 million. He's under 1% owned. He's got good fixtures. Yes, he doesn't play for the best team in the world, of course, and he hasn't done much so far this season. 1 goal, 1 assist, I think it is. But a 5.7 million striker with decent fixtures who scored, was it 29 goals in the championship last year, John?
He scored a lot. I
think it
remember
was
pre-season doing the research,
Yeah.
and he scored the most in that team by 3 times as much as Billing, who got 10. So I think he got about 30 goals, yeah.
And if it wasn't for Mitrovic doing what he's done so far this season, and obviously last season breaking records, and if Solanke was in the league last season, he'd be much more of a valid pick, if you know what I mean. But this season we've got all these forwards who are banging. Haaland's amazing. He obviously takes up one of the 3 forward slots for everyone.
Yeah.
Kane's doing well. Jesus has done well so far this season. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, this season it's a little bit tricky to go for him. But yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's not an awful shout going for a cheap striker with those fixtures. In the next 6 games, can he nick 2 or 3 goals? If so, that's a decent enough return for the money saved on, say, Gabriel Jesus. You'd free up, 2.3-ish million and reinvest that elsewhere. That's the difference between a cheap defender and Trent or something. So, yeah, I think I'm in the middle of this argument. Where are you, John? Are you heavily one way or the other?
I think this is where I put my foot down as a non-FPL expert and passionate player. The experts can go and pick their Solankis because it makes sense, and I get that. Trust me, I really get a penalty taker, the price, the fixture. I get it, but this is where me, as the average Joe FPL player, puts my foot down and says, "Nah, I'm not having it." So I've already popped my transfers. We'll get to that later, and I'll tell you this: Solanke's not involved. Now, Godspeed to anyone who picks him. I think fair play to you, and I have no doubt in my mind he's going to get a goal in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to be there with my tail between my legs. But this is one of those where I'm willing to just put it in the line and say, I don't know, it's Bournemouth. That's all I'm going to say. It's Bournemouth, but I know the numbers, and I know the penalties, and I know that I get it, but nah, not for me. Almost just out of principle.
Can we ask in the live chat if people can put in yes or no? Is Solanke a good option? Not whether you're going for him or not. I'm not going for him.
Is he a fair option?
Yeah.
I would even
I'll
say
start off with yes.
I would start off with yes, though, as he's a fair option. I
but
just
just
am
not for
not
you.
going. No,
Yeah.
I don't. But here's the thing: I don't think it's going to make or break my season. If this was a bigger call, maybe I bend the arm a wee bit and let it go
Yeah.
and do it. I just don't think it's going to make or break anyone's season.
Yeah.
If he gets two
Exactly
hat tricks in
that.
a row, good luck.
That's what I was trying to get at with the whole, don't the hype on Twitter either way is someone just said no times 1,000.
Well, there we go.
Just as I was saying, it's two. I think it's one of those that people are very passionate about either way, and it's by the sounds of me and you are kind of we can see the justifications of why it's an okay pick. Neither of us are going to go there. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's a bit boring. Maybe it would be more fun if I came on here and just sort of went crazy for it either way. But
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm quite a balanced, boring FPL player, which maybe doesn't make great content. But yeah, that's just how I feel about Solanke. A bit of balance to the argument.
Let's talk. Let's talk about captaincy this week.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get stuck into it a bit deeper with our teams on the screen a bit later. And I have a potential rogue captaincy option, but we'll leave that for later. But in the meantime, who is the standout option? Maddison, Haaland, Salah. A lot of people going for Maddison now. Great fixture. Salah is somewhat differential in the engaged managers because of all the Gameweek 8 wild cards, and then we've Haaland, who's just like set and forget captain for many people.
Yeah.
Who's your initial thoughts? Like, who is there a standout?
For me, Haaland is, unless there's a very good reason not to go for Haaland, maybe, if we get wind that he's going to get rotated or something like that, or if Salah was in peak form plus had, Bournemouth or Fulham at home or something like that, then maybe. And Haaland had a tough fixture. But at the minute, for me, Haaland's like Suarez back in 13-14 season, or Salah in the 17-18 season, or maybe like an Aguero back, was that 2011, 2012, something like that. And what I'm getting at there is not in terms of playing style, in terms of FPL week in, week out, make the new captain. They're not going to be the highest scoring player every single game week.
Yeah.
Like last game week, Haaland got 6 points. De Bruyne as another option got 10. And other players did better as well. But Haaland's, we've seen what he's like. The stats are unbelievable. The eye test watching him is unbelievable. He's perfect for FPL. He just gets so many goals in the 6-yard box or, penalty spot area. Just amazing player, amazing goal scorer. And I'm not put off by Man United at home just because Salah's got, on paper, maybe a slightly easier fixture, but that's debatable, to be fair. With Brighton are a decent defensive side. So other than that, people are saying, I'm going to go Maddison captain, Forest at home. Easier fixture, undoubtedly, but team form for City is obviously way better than Leicester's. And, I'm a big fan of Maddison, but for captaincy, it's Haaland for me. Again, boring, but it's just my truthful opinion.
No, I get you. I think it's interesting what you say about Haaland, comparing him to those strikers of old. And I think a lot of us like a midfielder as captain because of the explosive upside with the extra point for the goal and maybe a higher chance of bonus at times. Maybe I'm full of shite there. I just feel like midfielders are generally more involved in the game. But the likes of Haaland, for example, I'm just looking there at this is a side topic that I hadn't prepped with you beforehand, but Haaland's XG is 7.34, which is the highest in the league. Second, Mitrovic at 5.71. Then we've Kane at 5.08, right? So they're the three players over 5. Haaland's miles ahead, 7.34, but he's actually scored 11 goals. So he's outperforming his XG by almost 4 goals. That's almost 50%. In fact, it's about 50% he's overperforming by. Now, the arguments about XG all the time are, and I know a lot of people don't really give a shit about it, but I do, is that elite finishers should outperform their XG, and he's definitely doing that. I wonder how sustainable that is, but I think he's performing so well, and these stats aren't even taken into account Champions League, where he's done well as well.
Yeah.
He's done so well that even if he did taper back to the XG sort of average, he's probably still going to be the best option.
Still good enough, yeah. And there's link up in terms of he's not like an amazing creative player. Like Harry Kane can spray balls like 40 yards and get assists that way, but because Haaland literally plays that number 9 role so high up, obviously, he's linking up with players in the box that can lead to, 2-yard pass. It can be an assist, can't it? So there's been plenty of times like he's got that nice assist for Gundogan. There was another time when in one of his hat-trick games, he passed it to Foden. Foden didn't score, Haaland ended up scoring, but that would have been an assist anyway. So I think there's that, he's only got, the one assist this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if he actually picks up a couple more now. And although I back up everything you just said there, an XG is important. It is a very valid stat to look at. It's not the be all and end all, of course, but it is important.
Another topic I wanted to throw at you is about this blank game week 12 for City and Arsenal. How
Yeah,
much should that be at the forefront of people's minds now? You know, there's wild card people,
yeah,
there's people who are just spending transfers, taking point hits now. How much of this should be around, you know, optimizing, particularly with those people that have teams with that maybe still, I don't know how many people are still here, but like, you know, the Jesus, Martinelli, and Saliba, also like the De Bruyne,
exactly. Yeah,
Cancelo, and Haaland. You know, all of a sudden there's
yeah.
people who could have 5, 6 players there.
And also, if you're carrying an injured player like I am with Patterson, that's obviously made things a bit trickier for
Yeah.
me because I've got the 3 City, 2 Arsenal, but now I've got Patterson that I could have maybe used in. I think his fixture was okay in game week 12. Now I can't use him, so that's even more tricky. So yeah, I think we do need to be taking that into account. If you're on a wild card, just be a bit more sensible about it. Obviously, get maximum one Arsenal player. Pretty much only, Martinelli you can make an argument for because of his price point and what he offers. Other than that, there's better options up front than Jesus anyway, and then he's got a blank, and also in defence there's better options. So with City, it's a real tricky one because I know we're going to bring the fixtures up on the screen at some point, but I was originally thinking, okay, City players are expensive. De Bruyne in game week 12, maybe swap into someone like a Salah, etc., etc., something like that, maybe. But those 4 fixtures after the blank for City are so good that I think I want to bench at least 2 City players in game week 12. I don't want to be transferring them out. Haaland was never going to be transferred out. I was going to carry him on my bench, but I was considering taking out Cancelo and De Bruyne. But those four fixtures after the blank are like, I can't remember them now. Let me just get them up. They've got 3 home games. Yeah, sorry, you did that. I'm just looking on my own screen.
So I've got them here. So basically,
Yeah.
after the blank, Liverpool have Nottingham, Leeds, Spurs, and Southampton. Man City
Which is
have
decent as well.
Brighton, Leicester, Fulham, and Brentford.
Yeah. So it's a tricky one. Like there's definitely a valid argument at that point to, Cancelo and Trent are a similar price, right? So that could be a move. Because this is one of the only times ever in the last few years where I've had no Liverpool players really. So jumping back to Liverpool players makes sense. De Bruyne to like a Salah or Luis Diaz, maybe to free up funds. Cancelo to like a Trent, like I said. But then you're going to wait back up in game week 13, look at your team and realise you've only got maybe Haaland from City that everyone's got anyway. And then City are going to have those 4 plum fixtures. City are the best team in the league as well. Obviously, Liverpool are faltering so far this season. So it's going to be a tricky one to play. In an ideal world, I'll somehow bench all my City assets, I guess, and maybe still try and jump on Trent somehow. And maybe just go without Salah. I don't know. But then, do you really want to be benching a 12 million asset like De Bruyne in game week 12 when Salah's facing West Ham at home, followed by Forest, followed by Leeds? 3 amazing fixtures for Salah there, plus then Southampton as well. So after Spurs, obviously, but yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. How are you going to play it? How many Liverpool players have you got, John?
None.
Yeah, same. How do you think you're going to play it?
So I've made my moves this week. I think we've obviously got the transfers from 9 going into 10, from 10 into 11, 11 to 12. What's that? 3 transfers coming up.
Yeah.
3 transfers. So, I mean, I could start to transition away from City to Liverpool, but again, it gets awkward with that Arsenal City fixture back to back. The Arsenal one obviously matters a bit more because City versus Liverpool, that's kind of anyone's game, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
I know there is a favourite there, but in terms of like FPL, neither of them are a great fixture that you would be targeting. You wouldn't be pivoting. I don't think I'd have De Bruyne to Salah for that game personally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've Martinelli, so you're breaking my head here. What am I going to do, Wes? I'm probably going to over time transition away from De Bruyne to Salah. I'll probably do that transferring after game week 11. Outside that, I would like Trent back at some stage. So maybe Trent for Cancelo, or depending on how like Chelsea are doing, have money there to go maybe from Reece James up, or other maybe Trippier all the way up. And then in terms of Haaland, I mean, he just benches for a week, doesn't he? You're not getting rid of him.
Yeah.
So I'm not that worried because I'm not my team isn't in too bad shape for 12 and won't be. I just think that the KDB to Salah is the move really for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking similar. My team is in bad shape. Like I said, I've made a decision not to try and sort that this week because I didn't want to be too long term in my thinking. We'll talk about my transfer later, but basically I didn't want to be planning too much for game week 12 with my transfers right now and therefore, get less points in the weeks leading up to it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'll transition away from, and again, back to the Solanke thing, because of his price point, for me, it might make sense to go there. So I've got Jesus at the minute, who will last a week or 2 more maybe. He will then be removed. Do I go up to Kane and price myself out of ever getting Salah, really, unless I move De Bruyne or even getting Trent without removing Cancelo? Or do I go Jesus to, say, Solanke, save that 2.3 million, and then all of a sudden I can actually upgrade a cheap defender to Trent if I want to do that, and I can actually carry Cancelo. And then after the blank game week, Liverpool and City both have good fixtures, and I'll already have Trent and Cancelo in my team. So that could be an option, and that's why someone like Solanke, although I prefer another forward, I prefer Tony, I prefer, I prefer Kane, of course, but the money saved might make it the move for me at some point. Not this week because I've already done my transfer, but I might end up with him.
He's an enabler, it's as simple as that.
Exactly.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about here was just having a look at the teams that have the best fixtures all the way up to game week 16. So I've used this Fantasy Football Hub tool here, and I'm going to sort this out. So in terms of attacking, with obviously the big hitters up at the top: City, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal. In terms of defending, it won't surprise you, a lot of the same teams: Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Spurs, Arsenal. But overall, if we have a look here in terms of easiest overall fixtures, game week 9 to 16, Bournemouth are actually top of the list, which is maybe why people are going for Solanke, as we just mentioned. Brentford, Leicester, Fulham, Southampton, West Ham, Spurs is the only tough fixture, and the only real tough fixture, I think. Then Leeds and Everton. Palace behind that have Chelsea, which is a tough game. But you see, once you get rid of Chelsea in game week 9, Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Nottingham. Then with West Ham, then Fulham, Leicester, Liverpool, and the list goes on. But safe to say there's been a big fixture swing. And Zaha, everyone's going for their Maddisons, myself included. But Zaha, after this Chelsea game, maybe, or even for this Chelsea game.
Yeah, I went for Zaha on my when did I wildcard? Game week 6 or 7, I think, before all the blanks happened. Anyway, but so I've got Zaha, and obviously that looks good with those fixtures. And yeah, it is interesting seeing Solanke up there, and especially as if you look at them a bit closer, the very next few games are really good. Especially, Leicester are conceding goals, aren't they, in game week 10? Southampton as well, Fulham, West Ham, and then it gets a tiny bit tougher with Spurs, I suppose. But yeah, that's what makes him a little bit more tempting. I think if Solanke had just average fixtures or was like 6th or 7th on this list or lower, Bournemouth, then I don't think he'd be in the conversation at all. But with those fixtures and what he did at the Championship, you can see it making sense. But yeah, it's interesting. And also, we've got to take this, we've got to apply our own logic to this list, because you see City down there near the bottom. However, that's obviously heavily weighted because they've got a blank in game week 12, which is obviously going to downgrade them a lot. But like I said earlier, after that blank, their fixtures are really good. And even short term, Man United and Southampton at home, I think are good. Well, Southampton definitely is, but I think Man United is still a good fixture as well. Liverpool, like you said earlier, John, it's a bit of a who knows what's going to happen there. Could be high scoring, so it could be good for the attackers.
Yeah. So I was just looking there ahead at something.
Go ahead.
The thing with these, when you look at this, like Arsenal all the way down the bottom, and the thing that jumps out at me there is the people still with Martinelli. We've value built up on Martinelli, but Spurs, Liverpool, Leeds, blank. It's just like in the next 4 games there, I talked to Bakar, and I think, or was it Abdul? I was talking to someone recently, and they were talking about how they think Martinelli could return in any of those games. But at the same time, I don't know, Martinelli on a wild card now.
Yeah,
we have value built up, but like,
there's definitely if you build a wildcard team and you go without Martinelli, that is definitely not a wrong decision for sure. Because like you said, Tottenham and Liverpool in the next 2, Leeds and blank. It's one of those where if you can manage a way of benching him in game week 12 and still having a decent squad, then after the Tottenham and Liverpool game, which are home games, and Arsenal have been obviously very good this season / some of last season, and maybe they can do well in these games, whereas before Arsenal were just sort of whipping boys when they played the Big Six, weren't they, a few years ago? But yeah, if you can still have a decent squad whilst benching him in that week, Leeds, Southampton, and Forest in 3 of those 4 game weeks in between 11 and 14, I guess is enough for people to keep hold. But yeah, I think like you said, John, and to be fair, I took out Pascal Gross this week, and I debated taking out Martinelli because of the blank. It was either Gross or Martinelli out. I did decide on Gross in the end, but the fact that I was considering taking out Martinelli sort of backs up what you were trying to get at just then.
The next topic I wanted to bring up was the main man here, breaking people's hearts. Isak, injured over the international break,
Yeah.
out for a few weeks anyway, seems to be the consensus. I have a graphic up on the screen here of a few replacements for game week 9 to 11. Just looking ahead at those in terms of the expected points under these players is based off the My Team Tool and Fantasy Football Hub. If you want 30% off, you can click the link in the description, or you can just sign up with the link in the description for free and have a play around before committing to anything. But there's the expected points here for the upcoming 3 weeks. On top of that, we have the fixtures and the prices. So the 4 players we've got here, Wes, are Mitrovic, Solanke, who's been spoken about a fair bit, Watkins, and Tony. Different values across the board. Mitrovic expected to get the most points. Newcastle, West Ham, Bournemouth predicted to get 14.9 points in the next 3 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if he outdoes that. Solanke is actually second with expected points of 13.4. Then Tony with an expected points of 13, and then Watkins at 12.7. Personally, I don't see why anyone would really go for Watkins, but he has been a sort of point of conversation recently, so he's here. What are your initial thoughts on Isak replacements?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I think excuse me. I think if you do have him, I think it is best to sell because Wilson's now declared himself back fit, and there's some quotes from Eddie Howe saying how he is now back and available. So when Isak does get back from his injury, what's going to happen there? Who's going to take penalties, for example? Does Isak keep him because he scored the last one, or does it go back to Callum Wilson, who's taken them historically for Newcastle, and I can't really remember him missing any. Could be wrong. Can't remember. And yeah, do they play two centre forwards, or do they play one as sort of a winger? Obviously, players who play that position, as we've seen with Salah over the years, in that wing position, can obviously get a lot of goals. But when you've got a forward who's not playing as that number 9, if they're played out of position negatively, you don't really want that. So there's a lot of question marks over Isak, which is why I was kind of in the Tony camp originally. Now he's got an injury anyway. I think it is probably best to move on. I guess you could wait and see what happens in terms of, ride out his injury if you've got a decent bench player to come in. But yeah, I think the general advice should be to get rid. In terms of these replacements, like you said, I won't talk about Solanke anymore. And again, like you've said, John, I personally wouldn't really consider Watkins. I know the fixtures are decent, but yeah, I just find him inconsistent. I find there's Danny Ings who's been benched a lot recently. Could Danny Ings get running the team at some point at the expense of Watkins? That could easily happen. Ings is obviously a very good player. So yeah, I think for me, with Tony at a similar price to Isak, that's probably where I'd go. Unless, like I said earlier, with my situation in my team, if you're planning for the future, if you know you're going to need that, what's the difference in price? 1.5 million-ish in the bank compared to Tony, then Solanke could be the way to go. So it depends if you need the money. If you can build a plan for Game Week 12 and Liverpool players, stuff like that, without that money, then Tony's the better player out of the two, the more proven.
Yeah, and I think Mitrovic doesn't need anything said about him at all in this graphic.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
in a lot of our teams already.
Yeah, for me, I don't like the term essential in FPL because there's obviously many different ways you can play, but he's as close as it gets for me. On my wildcard a few weeks ago, Mitrovic was in 100% no matter what, and I know he hasn't done that well in the last couple of weeks, but yeah.
But second highest XG in the league for 7 million, 6.9.
Yeah, and the context of that, John, is more impressively, a lot of those games have been hard fixtures. If you remember, game week sort of 1 to 7, he had really tough fixtures. He got a brace against Liverpool, tough fixture, goal against Spurs. Who else have they played? They basically had a really horrible run, didn't they? Sort of game week 1 to 7-ish. So if he can do that against the big teams, then he should blitz the lower end of the table teams that are going to be more like games he's used to in the Championship, if that makes sense. Obviously, it's not because it's a step up, but he smashed the Championship and he can smash these lower end Prem teams for sure.
Time to move on to our double up differentials, where every week we're looking ahead at 3 longer term differentials for your team, and then 3 kind of shorter term, which are like for 1 week punts if for some reason your budget / transfer plans allow. We've got the longer term differentials on the screen now that you've picked out for us, Wes, all under 5% owned, and actually way less. Now Solanke, you imagine, will rise from that 0.8% ownership, but Mitchell makes it in just 4.5 million in defence at Palace, who have, as we said, I think it's the second best run of fixtures up to game week 16.
Yeah.
And then Barnes there, 1.2% ownership, 6.9 million. So talk us through. I think Solanke we've spoke about. So Mitchell and Barnes.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Give us 30 seconds on each of them. Why would you consider them longer term?
I definitely don't want to talk about Solanke anymore. Barnes' fixtures are decent. He's one of those players that can just be an amazing FPL asset. I know he's a bit patchy, which is why he's essentially a differential, which is why everyone, including myself, is going for Maddison rather than Barnes. But if I was to say double up on Leicester for their good run, the second player would be Barnes. And I just think, yeah, he's a really good asset. And in terms of Tyreek Mitchell, that could read, Mark Gay or however you say it from Palace as well. He's slightly cheaper. And the reason I've picked him out is because, like you said, Palace have got good fixtures for the longer term. Palace's defence do well against the lower end of the table teams. Like when they play against non-top six teams, they've got a decent enough goals against ratio. And yeah, so if you went for Mark Gay, he's 4.3. You can sit him on your bench most weeks, just play him in the easy fixtures maybe, or if you get an injury or in the game with 12 blank when they've got Wolves at home. So him or Mitchell, they're 4.3, 4.5, cheap enough to bench, but decent enough that if you actually have to play them in a run of good fixtures, then you'll be happy to do so.
Love it. So there's the longer term. Let's have a quick look at the shorter term, which I accidentally flashed up. Any eagle-eyed viewers will have seen it. I shot my cocks. Spoiler alert. We have Wilson here, 0.7% ownership, coming back from injury. Isak out. It'd be a bit more confusing, I think, when they're both fit and firing, seeing how that's going to shake out. Yeah. But Wilson for now, 0.7% ownership, 7.2 million. So he is in that sort of price range along with the Tonys and the Watkins and the whoever else is. So he's here as a differential, but and the whole thing about differentials is they're different. I don't think I wouldn't be picking Wilson over Toney personally, but what's the argument for doing it?
So this is obviously the short-term section, which is important here. So if I was looking I've already used my wild card, so I'm not in the short-term territory myself, especially as I have to focus my transfers on sort of the Arsenal City players out to accommodate game week 12. But if you were, I know some people are saying their wild cards game week 13 now after the blank and attacking those 4 game weeks before the before the World Cup. Because of Isak's injury and because of Wilson returning, I think he is a good short-term differential with everyone else going for the likes of a Toney, Mitrovic and Haaland front three. This is a good way of getting in a Newcastle player who's in, Newcastle, a decent team now, decent fixtures. He's going to be on penalties with Isak out. It's just a bit difficult why he'd be a really good option in this short-term bracket if we knew for a fact Isak was going to miss, say, 3 games. Just we don't really know that, so it comes with a warning, I'd say.
An asterisk.
Yeah.
Sinistera, we've had a question mark from Amandeep in the comments going, Sinistera? Maybe that's not what was intended, but I'm going to say it was a really dramatic Sinistera? Really? I'm going to say that's what he did at home. Go on, justify it.
Yeah, why not? He's a very good attacking player in a team that has got good short-term fixtures. I think if I'm remembering rightly, their first 3. 2 seconds. Using a different screen for you. Where are they? Leeds. Yeah, Villa and Crystal Palace in the next 2, and Leicester. So Arsenal's obviously tough for Leeds, but yeah, they've got Villa, Crystal Palace, and Leicester, 3 of the next 4. So for a short-term mid-price midfielder, maybe he's a budget enabler to allow you to get someone like Kane at front. We've been talking a lot about these mid-price forwards. We haven't spoken about Kane yet. If you don't want one of these mid-price forwards and you'd rather have Harry Kane, Haaland, and say Mitrovic, then you'll need to save money in midfield. And that's why someone like Sinistera could be a really good punt. And he's going to be a super differential, isn't he? No one's really going to have him.
Less than 1%. And Johnson's here as well at Forest.
Yeah, and again, because of the context of forwards and how many good forwards there are, it's just, for me, I've never considered putting him in my actual team. But if you look at it, and again, I'm just going to bring up the fixtures. Leicester away this week is obviously, they're one of the worst defences, if not the worst. I can't remember the stats now, but in terms of goals conceded, but they're conceding so many goals, aren't they? I think Danny Ward is something like, I saw a stat the other day that he's 22nd highest keeper, but obviously there's only 20 teams in the league.
Oh no!
He's played every week of the season.
Don't do him like that.
I know, poor bastard. He's getting pelters. But yeah, they've got.
Oh god!
So,
I can't say I've watched a hellish amount of Leicester this season, right? But God love him. Like, I feel from, is he actually really bad, or have Leicester just defended woefully and like he's been really unlucky?
Yeah,
a bit of both. Like,
bit of both. There's certain shots that you see if you watch one of Son's goals. I think it was maybe his hat-trick goal.
Oh, he was way out of position, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he kind of got a hand to it, and it sort of went behind him and into the same corner he was sort of defending. It's just there's been a fair few mistakes for him, but yeah. the whole blame shouldn't be on him because it is, Leicester have sold a lot of players, sold for Fafana, haven't they? Injuries. We've spoke about it a lot before. So yeah, it's definitely not all on him why he's not getting the FPL points, but he's not helping himself. Yeah, with Johnson, let's analyse why he would be a decent option. He's on penalties for Forest. They've got Leicester away, Villa home, and then it gets, which is why he's in the short-term bracket, Wolves away and Brighton away. But yeah, for a short-term 2-game week punt, depending on what your situation is, and it's the reason why remember it's short-term differentials. I'm not saying keep Bren Johnson for 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks. Short-term differential, someone who's not being spoke about either, an alternative to someone like Solanke, because they have a similar price. So again, if you need to free up budget, like I was talking about earlier, to jump back to Trent maybe, then he could be a decent option.
Very good. Well, Wes, we're going to move on to our double up game. We'll explain the rules now, and after that, we're going to look at our teams and what we're going to do for this week. Don't give a spoiler away. So, in terms of what happened last week, we'll get on to that. First up, I'm going to explain to any newcomers what the rules are. This is the FPL Double Up podcast, and we have a little double up game. So, every single week, me and Wes are going to pick. I don't know why my camera disappeared. Oh my goodness, I'm back. Amazing. The double up. The rules are that we pick a double up from a team in the Premier League each week, and we see what points to score and we go against each other. So the first rule is that it has to be below 1% top 10k combined ownership. That means the two players we pick have to be owned by less than 1% of the top 10k combined, if that makes sense. You can't use the same team twice in consecutive game weeks, so we can't just pick like Erling Haaland and Walker every week, assuming that meets the criteria. And rule 3 is at the end of the season, the loser's going to shave off their beard. Now, just to zoom in a bit, we've both got like nice wee beards going on. You can tell us who you think is better. I think yours is looking better. Mine's a bit patchier, Wes. You've manned up a bit in the last year or two. Remember, you used to praise my beard.
I can't shave this off. I need to win this game, man. I desperately need to win it. Oh, there's also a sort of, it's not an official rule on the screen here, an unwritten rule of
a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, what was it? Not only one player can be over 10 mil.
Yeah, because otherwise Son and Kane or
that would have worked last week because we spoke about off air, didn't we? And we both wanted that, to be fair, and it would have worked out really well because they both scored handsomely. But yeah, you won it with
I still went there.
Boys.
I still went there. So this is how we did in game week 8. You went for the Newcastle defence, Pope. You went for the goalkeeper, and you went for Isak, who did score the penalty, I believe, 9 points. So you got a combined total of 11 points. We actually started this a few weeks ago, but obviously with the Queen passing away, I think there was a game week postponed and whatever else, so that week's kind of didn't count and blah, blah, blah. But Pope and Isak, 11 points. That was a 4.58% combined ownership in the top 10k that week. 11 points, I think some weeks that might clinch it, but unfortunately, Dyer stepped up. He got a goal. He headed it in from a corner. Harry Kane with a 10-pointer. 17 points for me. 11 points for you. At the bottom, I know it does look doubled up. Excuse the pun, but game week 8, 17. Total points 17. Obviously, those will change each week. We'll have a combined total by the end of the season. Advantage John Nellis.
Yeah, I should have... I changed my mind off the Spurs boys, didn't I? And then you swooped in and took them, which was fair enough because that was the fixture, wasn't it? At home to Leicester. Yeah. Dyer never scores, but to be fair, you didn't even need that. Kane
Mystic Mac, baby.
For you. Yeah, you got
Mac, it. I got it. But I tell you what, though, I don't know about. I don't know. Can we pick the same team each week? Because it seems to be a who's first into the group chat. Do you know? Because I mean, there's always a better. There's always a better team. There's always a standout option, and one of us is going to want it. So is it first who's in, or can we do the same each week? Alex can maybe let us know.
Yeah, so you kind of got Spurs, I guess, that first week, and then I've chosen first this week, I think.
We could alternate, or maybe you do loser chooses first.
Yeah, I'll have that because I've lost this week.
Okay, so is it last week's loser or total point loser chooses each week first?
I want to say total points because that seems like it's going to help me out, but it could swing this week. I don't mind. However you want to do it, we could alternate maybe, or do whoever's behind goes first. Whoever's behind overall goes first.
We're having an on-air strategy meeting that no one needs to hear about, so we'll work this out
Yeah.
afterwards. I
forgot we was on air.
Yeah, no one gives a shit. So this is how we got on in game week 8. Now, game week 9, we have our picks now. Will we let the loser go first? I think we'll let the loser go first. You can. Sorry, I'm gonna milk this way, because I mean you have the higher rank and you're the expert. You're probably gonna smash me over the season. But let's pull up your picks for this week. Do you want to talk just about them?
Yeah, so they sprung to mind straight away, really, with obviously the fixture. I can see why you've gone for your ones as well because of that fixture as well. But yeah, I think it's one of those. They're both sort of patchy players. They could easily both blank, and then all you need is one return to win. But I think they're decent enough shouts. And if I was to go for this double up, if I was to go for an extra Leicester player, I've been having these conversations about some people have been bringing up players like Daka and Vardy or even James Justin. But for me, the only other Leicester player I would get would be Barnes if I was to double up. So that was why it was kind of in my head and wanted to back it this week.
Okay, so the Leicester double up. Nice
0.0% in the top 10 those two.
I don't know if that'll be done again. It might be, but
probably will, to be fair.
Yeah, in fairness, if it's happened in the second week, it's probably going to happen again over the season.
Yeah,
but
I just think no one's it just probably means no one's really got Barnes.
Yeah. So Maddison, Barnes, I think that they could do very well this week. I'm going to show you my picks now. I've went for the Brentford boys. I went for Tony. And I'll tell you what, it was kind of Tony I was picking. I was targeting Tony versus Bournemouth. Yeah. And I had a hard time deciding who else to pick. At Brentford, I was looking through the defenders. There was no one with real upside. I could see Bournemouth getting a goal. In midfield, there was no real standout for me. A few people who could do something. So I decided to go for the forward double up. We don't get to do this sort of stuff in FPL. You wouldn't pick a Brentford double up up top. So 0.03% of people in the top 10k have, though.
And I think, oh really? Yeah, they just must be die-hard Brentford fans who haven't changed it. They just did it game week 1 and forgot about it. But and they've somehow ended up in the top 10k. That's actually a crazy stat. Actually, someone in the top 10k has both of those in their team. That's nuts. But yeah, I think.
I think this would mean, wait there, I'm going to butcher myself, make myself look like a fool, right? So if 1% of 10k is 100, that would be 1%. So this means 30 people in the top 10k have this double up.
Yeah.
That sounds mad.
It is mad, but I guess they've obviously saved a lot of money elsewhere, got a load of other premiums in, and plus Tony's done really well that it's probably carried the both of them. And even Mbeumo got a goal against United, I think. So he's probably done one of the best out of anyone sort of under 6 mil forwards. They're, probably done better than Solanke, etc. So yeah, decent enough shout. And I think with those two, if they combine quite nicely together, so you could get a goal and assist in the same move there quite easily.
Shout out to Bruno Tavares in the comments who let me know my camera was gone. I'm getting used to this new, all these little graphics and beautiful things, and I keep doing this way, as people can see this, I keep dragging graphics over my camera, but your camera's elsewhere. So I keep being an idiot, but we'll do better in game week 10. So those are our picks, just to remind you, Wes's and mine. Those are mine, these are Wes's. Let's see how we get on next week. So, Wes, we're coming towards the end of the show, but there is, I suppose, the thing that a lot of people generally come for still to speak about. We're going to have a look at our team reviews, our plans, and then some quick-fire questions and wrap up. So, do you want to do your team first, or will I do mine?
Yeah, we can do mine first if you want.
Yeah, okay. So, your team, I'm going to pull it up on the screen. This is your team from last week, game week 8. You got 57 points. Patterson there with a red flag of doom. Nice Zaha on the bench. James was on the bench too. So you have some nice players to come in. Talk to me about this team.
Yeah, so I wildcarded before the news of the Queen. I can't remember what week it was now. Let me just find that out. Game week 6, which would have obviously I'd planned then. I didn't plan for all that disruption that happened straight away, pretty much straight afterwards. So really scuffed my wildcard, and it's been quite frustrating that. However, I've managed it okay. My team is now in decent enough shape with Zaha and James coming back into the starting lineup. Patterson got me a little lucky 6-pointer last week because West Ham hit the post and all sorts, really. So a bit fortunate there. Other than that, I'm fairly happy with how I'm set up. I think are we gonna build my actual team for the next week on the screen, John?
What I can do, actually, I suppose, good man. I didn't have that set up, but I'll show people how the My Team tool works. Do you have your ID to hand?
I think I remember it. 15641.
15641. Go. Your team should load in to my team. And then from there, what we can do
I hope
is
that's right,
build
by the
it.
way.
Let's see. 15461.
Okay, yeah.
We've got some random guy's team on the screen.
Oh, right.
That'd be a fun game, wouldn't it? Maybe it would be a crap game.
He's probably beating both of us, John.
He probably is. Let's see. 461. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
How did you... That is right. Did someone let you know in the comments or something?
No, I had a look. I have your team on the screen. So for anyone who doesn't know, if you go to if you go to your game week, your points there, like I have on the screen now for Wes, and you go to the search bar, the number will be there. So I pulled that over to my team.
Sorry, John. There's a comment that's made me laugh. So, Colm, is it Colm or Colum?
Colum, I'm gonna go for Colum Bulger.
Colum Bugler said hit the like, and John would set his camera off again.
I'll turn my camera off for the whole time if we get enough likes. Let me go and give these people some crap, Wes. Like, how many likes have we got? You know, we're out here busting our balls, doubling up.
Turning our cameras off.
300 people here and just 50 likes. Come on, guys. You can help
Freeloaders, John.
Freeloaders, that's what we call them. Scumbag freeloaders. Like the stream guys if you can, because you're going to forget to when you leave and go about your weekend. And do subscribe. More content coming today. Do you know who's actually coming on later? 4 o'clock, I think, is planned for the release. It could be a little bit later, maybe between 4 and 6. The Fantasy Football Hub Daddy has popped his wild card, I believe.
Yes. I remember we spoke about that earlier in the week in the meeting, didn't we? Yes, excellent. Looking forward to that.
So Will's coming on. But anyway, this is your team. This is your time, Wes. What is going on here? What are your thoughts? I'm going to start dragging people in because I imagine you're playing the likes of Zaha.
Yeah, is that going to be live, by the way, with you and Will?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. But yeah, back to, again, we're just doing strategy off screen. So my team for this week, put the cheapos on the bench, of course. I've got Maddison third sub, Nico Williams first sub, 3-4-3. And my transfer this week was Pascal Gross to Maddison. Pulled the trigger on that a couple of nights ago, and I updated my team reveal late at night, if anyone saw that on Hub. That's how I'm set up. At the minute, I've got my vice captain on Maddison because...
Who's your second bench option?
Andreas Pereira.
That makes so much sense. Okay, vice captain on Matters. Captaincy on Haaland?
Yeah. And then just in terms of so I used my transfer on Gross to Maddison, like I said. I considered Martinelli to Maddison because of Game Week 12, but now I've got 3 more transfers before Game Week 12. Game Week 10, 11 and 12's free transfers. So I can use those to jump off 3 out of the 6 players who don't play. I hope this isn't too confusing because I've got obviously 3 City, 2 Arsenal and Patterson, all that won't play in week 12. So I now can't afford to make transfers to anyone else really. So, players like Reece James, Trippier, Pope, Mitrovic, Zaha will all stay now. And likewise for Nico Williams and Andreas, they're set for the next few weeks and I'll be using my transfers probably on the Arsenal guys, maybe on Patterson if I can free up some cash because, he's not the best option in the world anyway. And like I say, I really want to hold at least 2 City players during the blank so that they bounce back in for their really nice run afterwards. How I'll probably play it. Game week 10, 11, 12. Hopefully save a transfer next week. And then in game week 11, I'll have 2. And again, maybe try and roll one again. So I've got 2 in game week 12. But other than that, I think my team's looking all right. I think it's looking fairly close to some wildcard drafts. So I think I've managed to pull off despite all the blanks and wildcarding a little bit too early, whatever. I think I'm still in an okay position. I might need a -4 at some point to catch up, especially if I get unlucky with injuries elsewhere on my team.
Yeah, no, I like it. And you have 61 predicted points this week. Would you take it?
Yeah, I think so. Assuming it's like a normal week. It's all about context, isn't it? Just you don't want those highly owned players that you don't have to go crazy and just sort of ruin your game week. Yeah. But
Liverpool could break a few hearts this week.
Yeah, I'm hoping that a lot, even if sort of Salah does go crazy, I'm hoping it doesn't hurt us too much. With, like you said earlier, John, a lot of the engaged managers have either wildcarded him out or used a free transfer to go to someone like a De Bruyne. So I'm hoping, even if they do go crazy, they're not going to kill us too much.
And just for people to know, if they did have the Fantasy Football Hub membership, you can click ahead to future game weeks. So we can have a look ahead here. And as you were speaking about game week 12 on the screen, we can plan ahead for that. There's a lot of blanks on the screen right now. So you can go through the game weeks. I think if you want to go over and give it a go for free, you can go ahead a game week or something. But if you want to go ahead all the way through the season, you need to sign up. So 30%
Yeah.
off if you decide to do that. But just to let people know that feature exists.
Yeah.
Right. Wes, will we
probably
do
the
my team? Oh,
we
go
will
for it.
do. Just going to say that's probably the best way to use it, isn't it? Especially when there's blanks like you're displaying on the screen, and especially when obviously this is not the hardest blank in the world with only 2 teams missing out. But later on in the season,
Yeah.
we're going to have a lot of blanks and a lot of double game weeks and stuff like that. So it's nice to see that later on in the season you can skip forward a few weeks and say, oh, actually I've got 9 double game week players already, and this is how I'll look in that double game week. Therefore, I can just make this is who I need to target. Blah blah blah. So yeah, it's good.
Over to my team. In game week 8, for anyone who cares, I got 59 points. I had Kulusevski in for a 1-week punt, and I've now learned the lesson of penciling in transfers and 1-week punts because Isak got injured too. So now I have 2 guys that were relatively high prices, important to this team, that now need sorted. De Bruyne and Cancelo did it for me along with Haaland. The rest of the team kind of let me down a bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Apart from Isak, who got the 9 points. Now, I've already popped the transfers, so if we just have a look at them in the transfer page, in fact, if we go to pick team, I suppose I can show you what I've set up. Now, the captaincy is something I want to talk about, so no one jump up me yet in the comments. So, I also need to rearrange. I don't think I'd start Fofana. But anyway, this team hasn't necessarily been optimized, but these are the players I have. We'll put it like that. So I pulled the transfers last night based off values. I took a -4 point Wes. I got rid of Kulusevski and Isak, and I brought in Tony and Maddison. I took a -4. And the reason I did that was because of values, and I was afraid of people rising and whatever else. And I knew that I didn't want to have Kulusevski. I know I could have done the whole thing where you're patient and you sit there with Isak on your bench for a week and you play around that, and you play an Andreas or an Nico Williams or something. But part of me is just like, nah, I'm taking the -4. I'm rolling the dice. I'm having some fun. Tony's up against Bournemouth. Madison's up against Forest. Get the 2 of them in.
Yeah.
I love it. So that's what I've done. This is my team's on the screen. I don't know if you can see it yet,
I can see it now. And I think I like your thinking in terms of if you had have carried Isak, you're probably going to remove him anyway because Wilson's back. So you'd end up taking the -4 at some point. And because you've obviously got a few City and Arsenal players as well, you're going to have to be focusing transfers there at some point soon. So I think Isak would have just added to that headache of game week 12. If that, we don't know how, it's a muscle injury. He could be out for a long time. So yeah, I think I back that decision.
I just want, and Kulusevski for me was very much a 1-weeker because he's whatever about injury status at the minute, but before even got into the international break, him and Richarlison now and Son with his hat-tricks nailed. So it's always going to be Kulusevski isn't quite as nailed as I'd like, but I did know, or at least firmly believed, he was going to start that last game week in game week 8 because of sort of previous minutes, etc. But I suppose my question to you as the expert, Wes, is Fofana not necessarily guaranteed to play. Potter there now, whatever else. I seen he played, was it Azpilicueta, and give me the other one. Who else did he play at centre back recently?
Did he play Cucurella there as part of a back three?
He had Thiago Silva and Azpilicueta, I think, in the Champions League there, and he had Fofana and Koulibaly on the bench, which was a bit left field.
Yeah, that's right. And in the Premier League, he definitely played Cucurella in a back 3 because Sterling was sort of this. He wasn't really, but he was kind of left wing back, but very attacking, which was a bit of a strange one. I think he's kind of done it with Trossard in the past, hasn't he? Where I don't know how much defending Sterling really had to do or was expected to do, but he was sort of a left wing back, yeah.
But my question here is, Fofana, do you play him and hope he gets 90 against Palace? Or they're probably going to concede to Palace anyway. So is it better to just play Andreas or Bailey?
Yeah, I think with Bailey having who's Bailey's fixture again?
Leeds.
Yeah, it's a decent enough fixture. Bailey's a tricky one because he's a really good option. He's only like 4.7 now, isn't he? So I think he's a really good option and to be benched in most weeks. But I think I probably would, because like you said, he's not guaranteed to start for Fofana. Do you want double Chelsea defence away at Palace? And Fofana hasn't got that much. You basically got him in for a cheap clean sheet, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I think I would. I think I'd go 3-4-3, and I think I'd play Bailey. I think I'd edge Bailey over Andreas at the minute, especially as Andreas has got obviously Newcastle, who are a better team than Leeds. So I think that's what I'd do. It's hard to call though, isn't it? It might end up not being the right decision. All we can do is try and make, over the course of the season, we'll make hundreds of decisions, make the right one every week. You won't always get rewarded for it, but more often than not, you will. And that's the way to play it, isn't it? Just
going to import my team here. 4364 is my code. 4-3-6-4 just to see my predicted points.
Yeah.
This hasn't took my transfers into account yet, so I'll do them very, very quickly.
Nice.
Kulusevski was out, Maddison was in, and Isak was out, and Tony was in.
And also, just while you're doing that, John, you said you had a left field captain, and you said you wanted to talk about it. And I've seen who the little C was on there. So yeah, let's we'll talk about that in a second. Once you've done your my
Yeah,
team
I don't know.
tinkering.
I don't know if I've the balls for the conviction of it, right? To be quite honest, but I'm
Yeah.
acting Billy Big Balls and sticking it there for now. So I'll move it over on this graphic too, just so people can see. The captain that I had in mind was Tony. I don't know. I just think he's going to be going to Bournemouth. He's in amazing. It's the best fixture. He's a player that was in great form in the Premier League. I can see Haaland getting 6 points versus United, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's Haaland. I know you don't need to shout at me. And I know he's the right decision. And that's why you're all doing it. But Tony against Bournemouth, I don't know. It's aggressive and I like it.
Yeah.
You know? But
this is
but he could blank and then you're a fool.
it is tricky, and it's why I never like to tell people like this is the right captain and everything else is just stupid. Because like I said, my reasons for going Haaland are, multiple reasons because of how well he's doing. I went into it earlier. But I'm not against someone going for the likes of a Maddison or a Tony because of everything you just said. They've both got really good fixtures. They're both in decent form themselves. They're both rested in terms of, Maddison didn't go away for the international break. Tony went away but didn't play. So, he's got to train with England players for the first time. So he's probably buzzing to have had that experience, etc., whilst also not getting tired by playing games. And he's got Bournemouth. So, yeah, you can't write off someone like Tony or Maddison outscoring Haaland this week. It's definitely not going to be a huge shock if it happens. I'm personally not playing that way. Like I said, I won't go on to that. But, yeah, I wouldn't talk anyone out of captaining someone like Tony or Haaland this week. Sorry, Tony or Maddison this week.
I know.
How are you going to do it though, John? Are you? What percentage?
Right?
What percentage are you?
Here, I'll give you the honest answer, right? In like seasons gone by, whenever I'm not like an FPL content guy, I do whatever I want, right? But this season, I feel a pressure because, you're making content. I mean, right now, there's about 350 people watching. You're here. I'm talking to Bakar, Abdul, Will today, all these experts, all these people who are really good at the game. And there's still that little degenerate John on my shoulder going, just Captain Tony. Don't be a shitebag. Do it. Captain Tony. But then the other side of me is like, Haaland is the correct meta move, like percentages and numbers wise. Haaland is how, if you pick Haaland instead of Tony in this situation over the season, you will finish higher. But that doesn't mean this could be the week that Tony gets a hat trick and Haaland blanks. It could be the week, and then you're a hero and you've leapt up and you're in the top 100k and we're cooking on gas, And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
You can tweet some screenshots of him being your captain as well. And
exactly, like everyone will be, oh, this guy John, he's a hero. Like this guy, why am I listening to Wes?
Yeah, for sure. I think what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that when you play FPL, you've got to make sure you've got to be happy with your decisions. So, come the end of the game week, if Tony smashed it and Haaland hasn't, will you be annoyed that you would have, that you was close to doing it? You don't want to. If you change your style to try and be, an FPL expert or whatever, and not be true to yourself, I think that's more annoying. Whereas if you go for Tony this week, it doesn't work out, and Haaland smashes it, you can almost mentally accept it. Your ranks will plummet.
I don't know if I could. It's Haaland. What am I doing?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But yeah, I didn't really. I know people might have joined the stream late, so my reasons for captaining Haaland, and I suppose to give a different way, you're thinking about it for 1 week punt, it could work out, and I fully get that and fully think that could happen. But like you alluded to, I want to make the correct captain choice, in my opinion, all season long. And over the course of 38 game weeks, I believe that will be the best way to yield the most points.
You're right.
It won't work every time. That's how I'm going to play it. It doesn't, like I said, and also it's hard though, isn't it? Because if you have the thinking that this could be the week where, something differential happens or whatever, and it could work out, then you play that way every week, because pretty much every week there might be someone with a better. Someone's going to be playing Bournemouth every week. Someone's going to be playing Forest every week, and it's not always going to be Haaland. So, do you captain? Mitrovic's got good fixtures coming up. Do you then switch Mitrovic? When Haaland's got someone else, I don't know. It's tough.
You know, the bottom line is here, I think I'm about 80% on Haaland, but the 20% I'm just dangling out there, you know, because there is a chance. I don't know. We'll see.
John, look at your team there, right? So you can see that Liverpool, in 3 game weeks' time, Haaland has Liverpool away, right? Whereas you can look at the rest of your team, maybe that's the week where
Mitrovic, Bournemouth, that's the captaincy there.
That's the week that maybe you do something like that. Maybe everyone will, to be fair, and it might not be differential. But yeah,
and then
maybe,
I won't look like a maverick. I won't look like a rogue. I'll look like a sheep. Anyway,
you want that glory.
I want that glory. Do you know, should I do it? Get in the comments if I should do it. If enough people comment, I might do it. I'm a bad man for peer pressure. 60 points here with the captaincy on Tony predicted. I don't know if I would take it. I think I'd roll the dice.
What was your predicted point? Sorry,
60.3 now. If the captaincy was on Tony, if I put it on Haaland, it's up to 63 points. But if he offered me 60 or 63 now, I'm rolling the dice, baby. This is a 78-point week. I'm calling it now. 78 points for John Nellis. Read it and weep. Tony captain, 78 points. All you chumps are going to get 63. And next week you'll come back and John will be the expert and Wes will be the chump host. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Wes, right, we have actually went on way longer than I'd planned. Will we do quickfire questions very quickly?
Yeah.
And then hit the road. So people, get your questions in. How quickfire questions works. I think Bakar managed 43 yesterday. So you've that to beat. Now
I can't beat him.
He's ruthless. He doesn't give explanations. He just answers. He doesn't get you need to be ruthless if you want to compete there. Or you can get, if you want to give your contacts, you're your own man, but you'll never hit 50. Yes or no style questions, A or B style questions. We'll answer as many as we can in 5 minutes, and then we're hitting goodbye. And sailing into the weekend in fine form. So get your questions in, and we'll answer as many as we can. Oh, Wes. Do you know what? Actually, a lot of people ask the same questions, and I find myself asking you the same questions, but you just need to take them as the easy wins. You need to just answer the same thing, because I'm just reading through them. And we'll give it a crack. So yes or no style questions, A or B style questions, and we'll go. I'm going to set the timer to 5 minutes, and then we're wrapping up. You ready, Wes?
Yeah.
Okay. Guerra or Pickford?
Greater.
Sterling or Salah?
Sterling short term.
St. Maximin? Yes or no?
Yes, but he's only just back from injury, so I'm not sure if he'll definitely start.
Broja? Yes or no?
No.
Isak to Tony for a -4?
Yeah. I don't mind that.
Would you go to Solanke for free instead?
Possibly because of the money it saves.
Martinelli or Sinistera?
Sinistera.
A or B?
Is that a question?
Just A or B. Which letter do you like more?
B. B's got a bit more character.
Okay. Isak for Mbeumo or Wilson?
If you're looking short term, I do prefer Wilson. Yeah.
Wilson. Daka?
No.
Salah or KDB this week?
KDB.
Kepa
or go on.
Kepa or Mendy?
Neither.
Start Ward or
neither.
Pope?
Pope. Never start Ward.
Never start Ward. Who's the best fifth defender to complete? Trippier, James, Cancelo, and Justin.
I still like Nico Williams for the price, but also look at someone we spoke about earlier, which was Gahey. Again, really cheap, and he's got a really good Gameweek 12 fixture. The only time you're probably going to have to need him.
Saka or Zaha?
Zaha, yeah, for sure.
Bacon or sausage?
Oh, so tough. I'll say bacon.
I'd go sausage. Martinelli or Barnes?
Love both. Might change the sausage, actually.
I love a bit of sausage.
It's got to be Barnes because Martinelli's blanking in week 12 and Barnes' fixtures are better.
Isak -4 or play Rico Henry?
Yeah, I'd probably do the -4. I don't fancy Rico Henry ever.
Son or Kane?
Kane for me.
Daka or Solanke?
Solanke.
Kukurea or Chilwell?
Neither. Has to be neither.
Me or Bakar?
Gotta go big John Nellis, haven't I?
Ah, thanks, lad. Best wildcard goalkeeper pair?
Actually, Bakar's got more Twitter followers, so retweets better from him, so I'll change to Bakar.
You piece of shit. You can't do that.
I'll stick with John Ellison. No, go on. What was the question? Sorry.
Best
Next one.
two goalkeepers in a wild card.
Um, I still like Pope and a non-playing player like Iverson. If you need to save money, if I was going to go for two 4.5s, it'd be Gracia and maybe someone like Raya from Brentford, something like
Kilman or Kufal.
that. Kilman,
Maupay or Solanke.
Solanke. Oh, actually, Mopay's not a bad shout, but I think it would still be Solanke. Yeah.
Thank you, Graham Shields. Jesus or Tony.
Jesus or Tony? Sorry, yeah, Tony for sure. Jesus, yeah, out.
Aubameyang.
No.
Bowen to Zaha this week or next.
Yeah, wait. Bowen's fixtures are decent enough, so yeah, wait at least 1 week. Chelsea at home, isn't it, for Palace? So wait 1 week.
Fofana or Emerson.
Probably Emerson to save the money. We've already spoke about a few other cheaper defenders that we like Gahey, or Mitchell. But yeah,
Couple of questions about Diaz at Liverpool option.
yes. I should have spoken about him earlier. Actually, yes, I do like Diaz as an option.
Andreas.
yeah.
Andreas or Emerson. Who are you starting?
Andreas.
Kurz or Carling. You're not a
Cause
beer
probably.
guy, are you? Yeah.
Kind a little bit, not major, but Carling's awful, so it's got to be cause.
Pacheta or Trippier.
Probably Trippier. I don't think we've seen enough from. I can't pronounce it.
I don't even know who Pacheta is. Anyway, Bamford in for Isak.
No, I just don't like picking players who've got zero form. So I'd avoid Bamford right now.
Bowen or Zaha.
Zaha.
Diaz, Maddison, and Solanke for -4. Or Maddison, Gross, and Jesus.
Yeah, it makes sense because you're getting rid of players who are blanking in week 12 as well. So yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Tsimikas or Martinelli.
To start this week, I'd probably start Simicast with obviously Robertson's injury. I wouldn't be bringing in obviously Simicast with Robertson not got a long-term injury. But yes,
Salah.
To start this week, Simicast.
I'm going to get you 2 more. Salah or Kane.
Kane.
Bernardo or Højbjerg.
But
Neither.
forget Højbjerg. Probably neither. But yeah, Bernardo can produce in certain weeks. So yeah, Bernardo.
And Saka or Foden.
Probably avoid both because they're both blanking in week 12 now. It's not the time to be bringing them in.
40 questions answered in 5 minutes, Wes.
40? Oh, that's not bad.
That's good going. Yeah.
Considering I waffled a little bit as well, so not bad.
We got there. Well, look,
Yeah.
everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and you can find us both on our handles below our big heads. That's it, Wes, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
All right. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.